Hi, welcome to episode 4 of StressKnits. Today is Tuesday, it is not January anymore, it is February 2nd. I'm Stacy, also known as StressKnits on Ravelry and Stacy Elstone on Instagram. And I have a relatively light show just because I didn't get a lot of knitting done this weekend. But first, I want to thank all new and returning viewers. Thank you so much for taking your time out of the day to just sit down and hopefully you're knitting and drinking something delicious while we just talk about knitting. Also, a special thank you to Candace from the Pin, Feathers, and Pearls podcast, which is also relatively new. We started podcasting the same week, which is really cool. She's super sweet. She said amazing things about this podcast, which is just so nice, and she didn't have to do that. So go check Candace out. She's adorable, and I love everything that she knits. Her yarn is beautiful. I'm kind of obsessed with her Cozy Memories blanket. I love all of the yarns in it. Candace, I might ask you for a swap pretty soon. It's just so cool. Okay, so before I jump into what's off the needles and works in progress, I would like to announce that the Indie Dye Knit Along is in full swing. It started yesterday. So grab your favorite indie dyer or an indie dyer that you love and just knit something. At least 50 grams. It can be a work in progress as long as you're not past the 50% mark, and I'm not going to police that, but use your discretion. So that's pretty much it. It's going to run through February and March, so I'll lock the thread on April 1st. And yeah, that will be that. Also, I will be announcing the Indie Dyer of the Month today with one of my works in progress. And yeah, so I actually think this is the perfect episode to mention this Indie Dyer because I have something off the needles from her as well. So, okay, let's get into it. First thing off the needles are my Spun Right round socks, and I put them on my new sock blockers. These are the Bryson sock blockers. I bought them from Jimmy Bean's Wool. So there are two. This is the Combat Boots and Baby Doll Dresses colorway, and this is Spun Right round on her 80/20 sock. This is one of my favorite sock bases of all time. It's just super soft and very sturdy. It's 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. I love 80/20 bases for socks. It's my favorite. I like the hand of 80/20 better than 75/25. But yeah, so I love these socks. I love the way that they knit up. I love Spun Right Round's speckles just because I feel like they're very intentional and not random. Like, they're random with intentionality, which is something that I think is really cool that she was able to do with speckles. So I love these socks. They are pair number 4 for my box of socks, which is a knit along hosted by Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast. So this is pair number 4. And then I finished, speaking of Kristen, my Spiral Blanket of Awesome. I thought I had more of the border color than I did, but I knit 2 or 3 rounds in garter stitch, and I noticed my cake got aggressively smaller after 1 round. And so I was like, I'm just gonna bind this off. So this is the Spiral Blanket of Awesome, and it is pretty awesome. I haven't blocked it yet. This weird little wrinkle thing is happening because I had it on a chair and was sitting against it, but yeah, so there is that. Yeah, so I love this blanket. It's perfect. It's like a nice little lap size. I need to block it. It's gonna grow a lot. And I just put it over my chair from IKEA that I bought, well, my mom and dad bought for me for a nice addition for the room. So I've just been draping it over the back of the chair, and I think it looks really nice. So I'm really excited to have my longest whip off my needles, and I love it. It's just so pretty to look at. Next off the needles is a half-finished object. I finished the first of my socks for the Rainbow Knit Along. The Rainbow Knit Along is hosted by Diane of Suburban Stitcher. I think it just runs through February, but it might be February and March. I don't know. Check out her podcast, Suburban Stitcher. She also has a group on Ravelry. I'm sure everybody already knows this, but just in case. Yeah, so this is Blue Moon Fiber Arts Socks That Rock Lightweight in the Wonderful Goodness colorway. So I just did the Hermione's Everyday sock pattern, but I added 2 rows of stockinette in between each pattern row. So I did 3 inches of ribbing. So there's that, and then that's what that looks like. And then I did the OMG heel by Megan Williams, and I did mess it up. I'm gonna take a drink of coffee really quick. You'll notice that I drink Starbucks iced coffee like it's my job. It used to be my job, but I used to work at Starbucks. But I just love iced coffee. I drink it year-round, but it's also 60 degrees today. So iced coffee is great. Okay, back to this. So I messed up on the decrease for the gusset on the bottom of the heel. I messed that up a little bit, but I know exactly what I did. I just read the pattern wrong. It was no fault of the pattern whatsoever. I was just tired and waiting for Doug to get in, so I messed it up. I kind of rushed it, but I will do better on the next sock since I know what I did. And I didn't pick up for the gusset the best either. You can see that there's that little hole, but this side is way worse. See that? It's just a little awkward. But I love the way that this heel fits. I love the construction. It's really fast. It's very intuitive, even though I messed it up. It makes so much more sense now that I've done it. And it's written for toe up or cuff down. I don't think I've ever said this. I knit my socks cuff down just because I like the stretchiness of cuff down socks. I've knit a few toe up socks, but I found that I don't get a stretchy enough, what's this called? Cuff. When I bind off with like Jenny Surprisingly Stretchy bind off, or I bind off in ribbing, it just doesn't give me what I like on my calf. So I do the long tail cast on and just knit down. And I also do socks one at a time. But yeah, so I love these socks. I love the pattern. It goes by really fast. And I also love the way that it knit up in stockinette. I always love seeing that on the bottom of the foot when I do pattern socks. But yeah, I need some more Blue Moon Fiber Arts in my life. Because just feeling this, and I tried it on when I finished it just to see how the heel fit, and I feel like I need that in my life. I have some credit from the Loopy U, and I think after my birthday I'm going to pick up a skein that I really, and by pick up I mean order online, because West Virginia and Michigan are a little far away from Colorado for me to just go pick something up. But yeah, So my works in progress. I don't have a lot done just because Doug was in town and I didn't really get to knit as much as I normally would. I did knit while he took a nap yesterday, which was nice. He was very tired, so I just let him sleep for a little bit. But yeah, so when he did that, I worked on sock number 2 of my rainbow sock. So I did the entire cuff yesterday during his nap, and then I did this during my staff meeting. So there it is. I need to do about 6 more repeats of the pattern, and then I can do the heel, which I think I can get through today because I have class at 4. It's 1:30. So I'm trying to knock this out before class. Next work in progress is my February sock. It is not what I thought my February sock would originally be. I'm gonna take a sip. But I have been wanting to knit this combination for a while. One of these skeins is one of my oldest stash. And they don't go together perfectly. I think it kind of clashes a little that it works. Personally, I kind of really love it. I love that kind of look. And it's socks. Like, it's not anything that people are really gonna see, but it makes me happy, so I'm gonna stick with it. And these are my February socks. Don't mind the obnoxious amount of ends that are gonna have to be woven in. So this up here is Vine Yarns Lush, which is an MCN, Merino Cashmere Nylon, that she discontinued last year. This is a mystery skein. It's a non-repeatable colorway, but she named it Cloudy with a Chance of Roses. And then this down here is her Straza base, which is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and it's her Pandora colorway. So, like I said, it doesn't match, but I actually really love the way that this looks. I think it's beautiful. And so this is my February socks because they remind me of Valentine's Day, which I don't really celebrate, but I think it's fun. So pink socks, and I'm using my size US 1 Knitter's Pride carbons, and it's magic loop on a 32 cord. Yeah, all of my socks are knit on 1.5 unless otherwise stated. Yeah, that's just what I knit with. Yeah, so Indie Dyer of the Month. I am going, Vine Yarn is my favorite yarn. I love knitting with her yarn. I love stalking her updates even if I'm not buying, just because I like to see what she dyes and what she puts up. I think her colorways are beautiful. Her color sense is, like, you watch her podcast, which is the Yarngasm podcast, and her personality comes out in her yarn, and I think that's very special, and I think other indie dyers do as well. I'm not saying it's just with her, but I think that I'm just so drawn to her colorways, and her podcast was it was the first podcast that I watched on a habitual basis. I was just very intrigued by everything she knit. I felt very inspired. She really inspired me to knit socks and sweaters. I think a lot of my knitting journey is really owed to Kristen. And so that is why I'm dedicating the first month ever of the Indie Dyer of the month, as well as my birthday month, to my favorite indie dyer. And I know she already has a lot of name recognition, but I don't really want that to be the point of this. I have already picked out the first half of the indie dyers that I want to mention, and they're just my favorites. And I feel like putting my favorites first is really going to help me, one, knit through my stash, which is not big at all. I'm gonna have to order some skeins because I want to knit with the indie dyer of the month. But I picked specifically the first 2 months indie dyers that I have on hand, so I don't have to order, because I know I said I was going on a yarn diet and doing a no by January. I'm combining my January and my February together, so there are 2 skeins of yarn that I think I'm going to allow myself to purchase for my birthday month, and those are going to be 2 of my favorite indie dyers that I'm going to need for the indie dyer of the month. And I don't know, depends on a lot of things, but I think that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm really excited to knit with Kristen's yarn. I'm looking over there, I forgot to grab the stash enhancement. I'm gonna go grab that really quick. Okay, so sorry about that. That was probably really awkward. But yeah, so I have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 skeins of woolen vine yarn. 2 of them I'm knitting with right now. I'd say 5.5, because I have 1 skein of yarn that I knit a pair of mittens with last year, and so I have about 50 grams, give or take, left, but so 5.5. And I'm knitting with 2 right now, and I'm going to be knitting with another skein. Mom, if you want to be surprised, look away for like 2 minutes, and if you don't, if you want to see, well, actually, Mom, if you want to look, you can, because tell me if you actually like this. So my mom is amazing, and she's very supportive of knitting, and I don't know, I have knit for a lot of people, and I've kind of neglected both of my parents as far as knitting goes, and I've also neglected my sisters a little bit, but that's going to be remedied this year, as it's going to be a very knit for my family kind of year. I knit my dad a hat for Christmas, and I knit my mom a pair of socks for Christmas, and she really loved the pair of socks. So I have a skein of woolen vine yarns that I love, but is not my colors. It was a mystery skein. It's just not my colors. I think it's beautiful and I want to knit with it, but I don't know what I don't really even think I would wear it as a pair of socks. So it reminds me a lot of my mom. So Mom, if you like this, maybe even if you don't, because it reminds me of you, I think this is very much your colors. So this was a one-off of one of her vampire romance colorways from her club, and I just think my mom would love this. So Mom, if you like this, it's yours, and it will be a pair of socks. So just let me know. So that will be knit up this month, those 2 skeins. And then I also ripped out my socket hat. I really loved it. I loved the way it was knitting up, but I didn't feel like this skein should be a socket hat. So I ripped it out. I only had about 1.5 inches of ribbing. No big deal. So I want to knit with this as well. So we will see what that turns into and how much of my Wool and Vine stash I can knit through this month. So if you would like to knit with your Wool and Vine yarn, come on over to the StressKnits Ravelry group and enter it into the Indie Dyer knit along. Yeah, or if you love her yarn, please feel free to discuss your favorite colorways or things that you've knit with her yarn in this episode's thread. I actually might make an Indie Dyer of the month thread where we can just talk about how much we love the yarn. And then I feel like throughout the year I will be randomly selecting a number for a post and sending them some minis of those dyers. So I think every few months, so that I can acquire some yarn minis, so that I'm not just sending you like, oh, here's one mini skein of Wool and Vine yarn. You know, so I think every few months I'll do that. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to write that down before I forget. Open thread. Okay, so those are my works in progress. I didn't work at all on my sweaters. I feel like a horrible person for not working on my sweaters, but Kemper of the Junk Yarn podcast, who is one of my favorites, she is hosting a Finish It February, and I will finish at least one sweater for February. Probably my classic raglan, the green one, and then I would also like to knit both sleeves of my gable sweater in February. Yeah, so that's that. Enabling. So I have ordered a few things, but I think they will be coming either today or tomorrow, and I just wanted to get this out, so you'll be seeing those next week. There is one thing that you will see next week that will be on the needles. My brother-in-law, his birthday is the day before mine, so his is February 19th and mine is February 20th, and he's been a part of our family for years, like almost half of my life. He is more like a brother to me than a brother-in-law, because I grew up with him being around and I love him dearly, and he always gives me a hard time about knitting, but in a loving way, and he really wants a hat, and he asked me for one at Christmas, and I said, do you want one for your birthday? And he said yes, and I said, what do you want? He said, I don't care, just surprise me. And I was like, what color? He goes, I don't care, surprise me. So I ordered a skein of Malabrigo Rios, which is my favorite worsted weight for gift knitting hats. I've only knit with it once, but I love it. It's so springy, and I think Alex, who's my brother-in-law, will really love it. So I'm going to be knitting the Windschief hat by Stephen West, because he really likes fitted beanies rather than slouchy beanies. So that is coming, and that will be on the needles next time. And then I have some other things coming, but I'm not going to knit with them right away. But the things that did come in the mail were my brace and sock blockers, and then I ordered some Arnie and Carlos. So this is Summer Nights. I only ordered 50 grams because I'm doing heels, toes, and cuffs in a white contrasting color. However, the white contrasting color that I ordered was a single ply, and I didn't notice. And I'm not putting that on my socks. I feel like it would wear down really fast. And it's not even that it doesn't have nylon. I actually think it has nylon in it, but it's a single ply, and I just don't feel comfortable with that. So instead, I'm going to knit something with I'm going to practice stranded knitting with it. and some of my leftovers from my daybreak shawl. So that's what I'm going to do with that, so I'm not wasting it. Yeah, so that's all for knitting and craftiness. But just a side note, these tulips right here were from Doug when he was in town. He bought them for me yesterday when we were out shopping, and I just love them, and I think that they were just the perfect addition to this little background. So I hope that you all have an amazing week. Please subscribe if you're watching and you like this. It just helps me know that you actually want me to keep doing this. I don't know. I love doing this, and I think I'm going to for a while, but I also don't want to, I don't know, feel like I'm just adding to the white noise. Because there's so many knitting podcasts out there, and I just don't want to seem like just that one that's one too many. You know, I'm a little self-conscious about that. So just let me know. Join the Ravelry group. It's StressKnits on Ravelry. Feel free to PM me for swaps or just to say hi. But other than that, I really hope that you have a wonderful week and you get to knit all of the things that you want to knit. And I can't wait to talk to you on Monday. Bye.